You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Being Human After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Being Human.
Oh, what's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. What's love but a second-hand emotion?
Hey everybody! Oh yeah! Bing is for doing, and here we are doing another amazing after show for your favorite TV show, Being Human.
Oh, yes we are.
Yes, I am your host, Sean O, and I'm joined here by my lovely co-host.
I am the infamous Katarina Lee.
And we're going to be talking about What's Blood Got to Do with It, which is Season 3, Episode 6 for Being Human.
What indeed?
Yes, and it's so great. Again, we've been mentioning how each of the episode names have pretty much been like a little bit of a parody of different songs, and this one was so obvious, so we had to put it on.
Yes, I suppose they must be doing that every time now.
Yeah, I bet. Anyway, our topics we got here today. Aiden gets poisoned, Josh gets fed up with Erin, and lastly, Sally gives up her soul. This was an amazing episode.
It was pretty dramatic.
It was very dramatic. It was fun. It was dramatic, and I'm really looking forward to the next one now. It was like a big cliffhanger at the end.
It was a huge cliffhanger.
Oh my gosh. So pretty much, if you guys haven't seen the episode yet, please, this is filled with spoilers big time.
Yeah, don't watch it yet.
So go ahead and just, watch the show, then listen to our podcast. Okay?
Exactly. Watch us on mute, then watch the show.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
So Aiden gets poisoned, and of course we've known from the previous season that when Aiden drinks wolf's blood, that's when he has like a really, really bad allergic reaction, I guess you could say, right?
Yes.
So how is it that he gets poisoned this time, Katarina?
This time as opposed to when he drank from Josh, for example?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, I didn't realize it was just from her. I would have thought the smart thing to do would be to get somebody's blood who had, like a human's blood who had a virus, and then stick that in there. Wouldn't that be the, more effective thing to do?
That is a good point. Liam could have done that differently, but I would have thought that Aiden would have like smelled it, like it would have been like different,
Right. Yes.
Because she just put her blood like right at the top of each of the test tubes, right?
Yes.
So Erin puts her blood in there. Aiden's like sipping them down like they're like Go-Gurts, pretty much.
Well, probably sort of it's just a very small little area. It doesn't smell that much probably, and he was absent-minded. He was reading his newspaper, and down the hatch it went.
Yeah, I guess so. And how crazy is it that Liam totally manipulated Erin into doing this?
Yeah. You know what, though? When they first showed up at the house together, I kind of, there was a little voice in the back of my head that went, that must be a trick.
Yeah.
And I feel somewhat vindicated that I was right.
Yes. And it's so intriguing that he used her in such a way. Liam turned her against her caregivers, like Josh, Nora, who isn't there, by the way. I'm surprised she wasn't there the whole episode.
Yes, although Liam is sort of putting in her head that Nora's involved.
Ooh. When did he?
Because when he was out at the bench and he said to her, "You're part of the pack, just like Nora is."
Oh yeah.
So he's sort of spinning the whole "we're in it together" against the vampires. So I think he's using Nora to brainwash her, because Nora was the one who stood up for her and always wanted to take her in and help her. So he's probably using her as a technique to get Erin on board, to feel like that she's part of the group and that what she's doing is not wrong.
That's right. You know what? What if, okay, this is like a bit of a prediction, but what if Liam has Nora captured in some way, and he's using her to like maybe put leverage on them for later on, because she was gone this whole episode.
That's true. She was gone, but wouldn't have Josh have said something about it if she was just missing?
Yeah, I think he would have brought it up, but then again, you know, there's so much of a lack of dramatic irony throughout this whole season. I'm really glad it's like that, because then there's no spoilers for us as the audience.
Right.
It's like they leave out things on purpose so that we can have the shock and awe just like the characters enjoy in the show.
True, and we can make gazillions of predictions about it too.
Exactly. So yeah, we honestly should have known better that Liam wouldn't have just brought Erin there for nothing.
No,
He's using her as pretty much a spy and infiltrator in the Being Human house.
Very much so.
And it's so sad because it's like right where things were getting good for Aiden, right?
That's true, because the whole bubble boy situation, you know, like we predicted, the bubble boy was going to be up for feeding him and all that stuff because Aiden's cool and he wanted to hang out. And now he even went so far, which really is the only logical way to think, and I don't know why we didn't think of that, but when he asked Aiden to turn him, that is really the only logical sort of way out for him, because his life is a living hell, and he's being a vampire, at least he could be out on the streets and living his life.
Even if it's just for a little bit. Because, you know, with the virus out there, and he obviously that's the big drawback for him.
Right, true, because they can't feed on each other.
And I'm surprised that Kenny, Bubble Boy, doesn't think about this either.
Right.
He doesn't like, okay, Aiden's drinking from me because he can't drink from anybody else's blood. So if I turn into a vampire, what other clean blood is there out there?
That's true, but I didn't think of that either. See?
Well, Kenny needs to think about this, because seriously, the kid's he's gonna have a very short-lived life, but I guess it's gonna be better than staying inside of a what would you say? He's in a glass jar. He's like a cockroach in a glass jar his whole life, pretty
Very
much.
much so. So, well, but maybe now, who knows? Well, Liam is trying to cross those plans.
It was also intriguing how Kenny said that he wants to go out no matter what. He wants to be out of there, whether he's human or vampire, by his 18th birthday, right? So he's got to be 17 right now.
Yes.
So it gives us and Aiden like this deadline, you know, where it's like, okay, he has to do something. It's like a temporary fix for him to get blood for a time.
Right.
But then later on, Kenny's gonna, you know, go out, and he's either gonna go out and die, or he's gonna be a vampire, and then the blood's gonna be completely useless to Aiden.
Very true. Very true.
And additionally, I enjoyed the flashbacks, didn't you?
I did, yes. I always like a good flashback.
Oh, yeah. Especially with Bishop in them. Come on, Mark Pellegrino. That guy is such an amazing actor.
Oh, I love Bishop.
I'm so glad to see him. And that's actually one of the most awesome things about writing for vampires is that they have such long lives that wherever they are in the present, you can always do flashbacks at some point in their life, and here we finally get to see pretty much Aiden's like origin story.
Yes.
We get to see him turn for the first time, where we've seen him like, I think in the very first season, we saw that scene where he notices that Bishop is feeding on one of his comrades in battle, and then it's like, okay, we assume obviously after that's when he gets turned.
Yeah.
But here we got to see a really lengthy version of that.
True, we didn't see that before.
And it was a good fight, and it was so cool how even as a human, Aiden had so much gall and so much like passion when he was fighting. You know, that's what he's good at. He's good at fighting. He's not good at compelling people.
No, he's not. No, I guess because he finds it doesn't live up to his moral standards, because he's very straight down the line sort of a person. He wants to do what's fair and what's right, and so compelling someone is kind of cheating.
That's very true. So great to see Bishop back in action again, kicking ass.
Yes.
And I hope there are more flashbacks with Bishop in it.
Yes, I hope so too.
So don't forget, you know, with our fans out there, you know, we actually got a lot of we got some comments and we got some ratings on the iTunes store. So let's go ahead and give our fans a shout out now.
Yeah, let's.
Sarah Mass 27 on iTunes says, "You guys are great."
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
And additionally, Buffy VS on iTunes commented, "Thanks for covering. Love the show and this podcast. The hosts are great."
Fantastic. Do you think that's the real Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Oh, I don't know.
That would be awesome.
That would
But
be.
Buffy's middle name is Anne, so there goes the V.
Yeah, there goes the V.
The VS Vampire Slayer. I don't know.
And lastly, we had one of our recurring fans, Ryan Witalison. He commented on our YouTube channel.
Hello again, Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, welcome back again to the conversation. He says, another good lengthy paragraph here. I'll try to read it the best I can.
Okay.
Didn't know you guys were running last night. Oh, that's because we were last week. We had a different night that we were operating. Let's see. He said, I was thinking the two girls were hallucinations too, but then we saw them after Aiden left the room, after Kenny discovered the truth about him, basically. Oops. And then he also said FTL, which was that one acronym for that video game we were talking about.
Right.
FTL is faster than light, I think. Oh. And he said here on his last sentence, I'm thinking that Kenny will push to be changed into a vampire. He'll be tired of living in a bubble and see this as a way out. Good prediction. And
smarter than me.
And he pretty much got it, because that's what Kenny wants to do now. Very good, Ryan. Thank you for your comments. So let's go ahead and talk about our second topic, which is kind of, I must say, it's the more boring of the three topics tonight. But let's just get it out of the way, because it happened, you know. So Josh gets fed up with Erin, pretty much. And obviously we talked about Nora not being there. So it's pretty much he's the only parent in charge right now.
Yes, because Aiden's not much of a parent.
No, Aiden's like
Sally.
in and out all the time. He's got his own issues with the lack of blood and dealing with Kenny knowing that he's a vampire and whatnot. And Erin proves to be like a handful, pretty much. She's like leaving her mess around the house, in the common area, in the living room, and like her flip-flops and her shirts are all everywhere. And obviously Josh makes a big deal out of it, right? Yes,
well, just like a teenager, I suppose, which I guess he feels like something he didn't really sign up for.
Yeah, pretty much. And he also says, like, he has a conversation with her in the basement, and she's in there looking for a place to change, you know, into the wolf. Yeah. And he's like going off on her, blah 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 blah. Oh my God, I sound like my mother.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's another interesting side topic, the issue of her changing, you know, in the storage unit, and that she doesn't want to do it, and that she thinks she can control herself if she turns out in the woods. What do you think about that?
I don't think she could. She's probably just being so headstrong and rebellious, like the typical teenager. You know, we were all there. We all felt like that. We all wanted to do something that our caregivers or our parents didn't want us to do. So she's trying to pull that same thing. She doesn't know what's best for her. She's not an experienced wolf, you know. No, and not only that, but she's super young too, right?
She is very young, yes. She's still a teenager, so who knows what could, you know, be uncovered when she turns into a wolf. She doesn't know herself probably yet enough to know whether she can control herself or not.
Yeah, and I wonder if she can remember when she's a wolf as much as Nora can. Because Nora always said that she remembers like killing people here and there, or like whatever she's done.
Yeah, because it always seemed that was something, it was almost like a different creature obviously takes over, and that was sort of something that was almost like when you drink and there's a blackout, where you maybe remember glimpses of what happened, but you don't really know what happened exactly, and you sort of find out the next day and you go, oh my God, I didn't do that.
Yeah, it could be parallel to actually how the vampires get all blood drunk. So I wonder if they remember a lot of stuff during that time period too. But again, you know, it's so funny because she's like the typical teenager, all being rebellious, but at the same time I'm wondering if it was kind of a decoy, like a ploy to be doing all that rebellious stuff, because she was actually conversing with Liam. Did you notice, like in the beginning of the episode, she had that cell phone, right? And I thought to myself, who the hell's paying for that thing? Yeah. And it was just like,
I didn't think of that. I did think at the end when she was texting him, I thought that maybe she was texting RJ.
That's what I thought too initially.
Because I felt like that maybe they would have somehow kept in touch. You know, when she ran away, I thought that maybe it had something to do with him, that she'd gone off to hang out with him and drink more beers or whatever, because that would be, again, a logical conclusion, you would think.
Yeah, I would have thought that too. And but you know, who knows, because there's such a big ellipse that we don't know where she went, what she really did. All we know is she ended up with Liam. He brainwashed her, brought her back, and now she's working for him. Yes. Pretty much. So I just thought it was so funny though. Like the whole episode, she was like a typical teenager text messaging away on her phone.
Yeah.
Who's she text messaging? Maybe she was text messaging RJ.
Maybe she was too.
But I was like, what friends does she have, right?
Yeah.
And now we find out that it's
Well,
Liam.
she must have known people before, like from like homes or wherever she was, or she must have gone to school. Like she must know people that have now miraculously sort of disappeared from her life. But it's possible that she would keep in touch with some old friends or try to.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm actually surprised that no one else in the house brought it up. Like, hey, where'd you get that phone?
True.
So that was kind of a funny situation, but where it ended up was Erin, and the whole episode with Josh and Erin was pretty boring until we get to the point where she poisons Aiden's blood at the request of Liam, obviously.
Yes.
And she stands over him with a stake, sharpened and ready to pierce his heart, if he makes a false move.
Yeah.
So did you have any other stuff to add to that about Josh and Erin?
Not really.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Sally gives up her soul.
Sally.
Silly Sally.
Again, silly Sally. Sally again eating French toast at the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
Um,
And it was being fed to her by Max.
yes.
Right, which was actually a very sexy scene,
Yes.
I must say, because
Yes.
she had her legs she was on the kitchen and she had her legs wrapped around that guy. She has nice legs.
Well, yes. She looks amazing.
And so, anyway, let's like fast forward a little bit. She sees her brother, played by Jesse Rath, who's her real life brother also. Very funny, and I'm sure that's the only way they would be able to see some kind of resemblance between her, because she's so unique. I don't even think that she's like, I wouldn't even say that she's like full Indian.
No.
Or whatever her ethnicity is.
I wouldn't have been able to figure out what she is.
But right away when we meet, what was the brother's name? Is it Robert? Robbie?
Robbie, yeah.
Robbie. Okay, so we meet Robbie, and right away he seems like he's a shiesty character, right?
Do you think?
I thought so right away, because he presents the deed to the house, and then he was just like, "Oh, you can pay me, make it out to my name."
Yeah, in cash or whatever.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Cash, whatever. It's like, Right away, I'm like, dude, this guy's trying to pull one over on me.
Yeah, certainly. Like, he's a little shady in that sense. I don't think he's a shiesty character in terms of that he's a bad guy. I just think that he's sort of maybe in a situation that he doesn't want to find himself. He seems to be living out of his car and stuff like that. So it's like maybe he's just he's a little bit desperate and he's trying to pull what he can.
Now let's talk about the house a little bit, because I thought from season 1, if you recall, Danny, when he was being taken away in cuffs or being like moved out of the house and he didn't want Sally to kill him.
Right.
He said to them, "Oh, I don't care. Take the house. Take everything. Just get me away from her. Let me live," pretty much, right? So I assumed from that they owned the house.
Right.
I didn't think they were paying rent anymore, but apparently it's been up in probate all this time because Danny and Sally are both dead.
Yeah.
And
well, I think that probably from somebody when he's getting let off to be out and just take the house, I don't think that would legally, in any way give him the house. There would be more involved, and probably at a later date if they came to him and say, "Hey, are you really like giving those guys your house?" He probably would have said no.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really good observation, Kat. I didn't think about that.
But I agree that it didn't seem like they were paying rent or anything. But I mean, perhaps they were someplace.
Yeah. So according to what the brother was saying later on, so of course Sally finds him on the street later on, and she sees him. But let's actually talk about the house stuff really quickly, just to get that out of the way.
Yes.
So pretty much the rent payments have been piling up at Sally's father's house, and he has not even been cashing them.
Right.
Which is pretty funny, I think. So the Being Human household must have so much money left over. They're like, "Hey, where's all the money going?
Why is it not going out of our bank account?"
Yeah. All these checks are expiring. It's okay. We need the extra money to feed Sally's waffle eating, French toast eating habit, right?
That must be it. And plus, Aiden only just started working again, because before that, Josh was pretty much paying for the thing by himself.
Yeah. And Nora too.
And the other thing that I was wondering is how many bedrooms does the house have? Because I would have thought that they would have rented a 2-bedroom house if it was just them two, moving in together. And Sally, obviously being a ghost, she just happened to be there, but she didn't need her own room. But now she does obviously have it.
Yeah.
So did they just have it, like, did they just rent a 3-bedroom house to begin with?
I think it was a 2-bedroom house. And I feel like once Sally got her body, Aiden got kicked down, voluntarily, down to the basement. Because you notice that's where he's staying now.
Right, you're right.
Every time he always emerges and goes down
he
there.
always comes out of the base. I was wondering what he was doing down there.
And it's actually more fitting, I think, for a vampire
It is more fitting.
to be staying in the basement, right? Like he's like in his coffin down there, in a sense.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And where does Erin stay?
Erin stays, okay, I think she was staying upstairs. But you know what? That doesn't make sense either. Then they must have a 3-bedroom place, because Erin was staying upstairs for a time, and so was Sally, and so was Josh and Nora. So there must have been 3. But then she moved down to the couch. What's up with that?
I don't know.
Because she was sleeping on the couch this episode with like legitimately like blankets and pillows and stuff there on the couch, and her stuff was everywhere. So curious. We really don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I feel like sometimes maybe I knew all the answers if I really paid minute attention to all the details.
Well, maybe our fans can tell us their
Maybe
ideas
they
and
can.
tweet at us. You can tweet at me at Sean Austin O on Twitter.
And you can tweet at me at Katarina's Infamy.
And of course, if you find us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, you can always like message us, comment us on there, and then we'll like try to give you a shout out and answer your questions or respond to them the best we can on each show. Okay, let's get back to Robbie. All right, so
Robbie, yes.
So Sally's going back and forth between the Being Human house and Max's place, and when she's coming back one night to get clothes, obviously she runs into Robbie.
Yeah. Whereas the whole sole purpose of her walking back and forth from, to Max's place was so that Robbie wouldn't see her. So her plan almost backfired.
It did pretty much. It did actually backfire on her because she had to fix it right away. If she waited until morning, he would have been dead in his car. And so she rushes over to the witch's place, and thankfully the witch is awake at whatever time it was.
She's probably always awake. She doesn't probably need to sleep. She just eats some of that powder and she's magically restored.
Exactly. You're probably right. And this is where we actually got to see some of her true powers. Because it was really subtle the way she just did the whatever incantation it was for Sally, pretty much. She was like, okay, you just give me your soul and I will allow it so that your brother lives or whatever.
Yes.
Right? But she does that, but I think it was a little bit before that scene where she like threw that dust or powder up into the air, and she pinned Josh against the lockers, and she was holding Sally up with what her like the force pretty much,
like an imaginary rope or something around her neck. It seemed she seemed to be holding like as if she was dangling from a rope. Yeah,
like she's being puppeted by her in a way, like she's like a marionette. So that really demonstrated her true powers, I think, right there.
Yeah.
But then the rest of it, getting the soul, it was very simple and easy. And she says to Sally, "You have no right to know what I'm gonna do with it now," which was very ominous.
Yes.
Because now we know, like, she really has control over her now, and I feel like, I want to say this later for predictions, but I feel like the witch is really she's gonna infiltrate the house pretty soon, so maybe she can try to kill Sally and get the soul sooner.
Oh my god, that wouldn't be playing fair.
It wouldn't be, but
no.
But she said when you die. She doesn't say when you die naturally in 80 years.
True.
Right?
She did say you can live a normal life, but you're right. She didn't say how long for.
That's exactly right. And what's actually cool though is it, with the whole soul thing being given away, it allows Robbie to live, which is nice, and it gives Sally an out, at least temporarily, for the rest of the season, so she doesn't have to be all contained in her house or not see anybody from her past and whatnot.
True. But I did want to mention that Robbie didn't seem adequately shocked at seeing her. And then later on, when they were talking, he said, "Our dad thinks you're dead." So, like, was Robbie, were they not close? Did Robbie not come to the funeral? Did he not know for sure that she was dead? Did she not have real contact to them? It was something, it was like a disconnect because he didn't see her and go, like, he didn't look like he'd seen a ghost. He looked like just surprised.
That's a really good idea you bring up, because I feel like he would have gone to at least her funeral to see her dead, like in the casket and everything.
Yeah.
And obviously she was buried because they dug her up at the beginning of the season.
Yes.
But we know from what he said, he didn't go to his mom's funeral.
True.
And he was like, well, why didn't you show up to her funeral? And then it was obviously she didn't notice him at the funeral either.
Right.
So he's off gallivanting around, doing something, whatever young guys do, I don't know, being homeless in his truck.
Yeah. But just the fact that he didn't think that he thought that maybe her death wasn't real, that there was a possibility. Because if one of my siblings, I don't even want to say it, but if they did, then I would know that it was true.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think, oh, maybe, so, it's not like a distant great cousin, aunt, 15 times removed somewhere died, and then you see them and you go, oh, I thought you were dead.
Oh, like, whatever.
It would
oh,
be
you're
like,
alive and here now.
Yeah, I would either think it was a different person, or I would, I don't know, faint, probably, or something.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. He did kind of brush it. The writers, obviously, they brushed that under the rug a little bit, but I think everything happens so fast. And if I want to help explain it away, that he was feeling sick, right? Because he was about to pass over to being a ghost and then have his soul sucked up by the witch. I feel like he may have just been so disoriented from everything that once she showed up again and they just talked and they just reconnected, I don't feel like we're going to be seeing him anytime soon.
No.
Probably like several more episodes, and maybe even next season we'll probably see him again.
Possibly. But then that ties into when she said to Max, now we can go out and we can see, do whatever. Because now she's not scared of killing anybody. But the problem still remains that if somebody that knows her sees her, they will still think she's dead. And won't they bring it up, like, in front of Max?
Yeah. And
so
if they
why,
do that...
Yeah, so why doesn't she think that's a problem? She's all like, oh, my problems are solved already, But that's still a real problem.
It's a huge problem, actually.
Yes.
And if everybody thinks... Well, she did kind of say to Max, like, a little half-truth, which she said was, I had to fake my death, didn't she? And everybody... or, like, run away and, like, fake, get a new identity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
maybe she'll do that. Because that's what she told Trent. He believed it.
He did. He believed that hardcore. She was a little bit more vague with Max, but I feel like she's going to have to reveal it to him sooner than later.
Yeah.
Maybe within the next episode or two.
She's going to have to tell him something will happen. She's going to have to tell him something.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have more on that, let's move into our news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Maybe it's easier on me because I'm like, I know it's coming. Because I'm like initiating the whole chain of events with my words. And now the news and gossip comes.
I know, every time I'm like, what? Okay.
Of course, yesterday, Sam Huntington, aka Josh, was actively tweeting. And among the funny tweets I noticed were the following. A fan at ThenTiff said, she tweeted at Sam Huntington, at Sammy Huntington, by the way, and said, how many times do you think Josh has said communal cream in his life?
What?
Do you remember that? It was in this episode when Erin was being that stupid teenager that she was being in the show, and she put like that whipped cream all over the top of the French toast, and then she put it in her mouth directly in there, and he was like, no, that's the communal cream. And he responded to this fan, and he said 14.
That's hilarious.
And there were other people who said like, oh, I thought it would have been more times than that when they were tweeting back at him.
Yes, but on an unrelated topic, did you see that later on he came home with 2 new cans?
No, I did not notice that. That is hilarious.
Yeah, just walking along the road, he had like 2 cans of... Right at the end, I think.
It was
when he was on his way home, and the whole thing was happening with Liam was on his way, and Aiden was sick, and because Josh is on his way home at the same time, I think he had 2 things of whipped cream in his hand.
Well, that's pretty neat. You got that whipped cream back. And here's actually a really extra spicy tweet. This one was tweeted from Sammy Huntington, and it read that he had... Okay, it's in my photos right now. I got a screenshot of it. This is so good. I can't misquote this. Sam Huntington, at Sammy Huntington, dreamed that at Sam Witwer, at Megan Rath, and at Kristen Hager had a threesome left out of my own sex dream. Sigh, sorry gals. Well done, Samuel. Wow, he had a threesome sex dream from his Being Human cast members, like with them in his dream. That's freaking amazing, man.
Well, let's have a little bit of Katarina's infamy trivia here. I had a dream about Sam Witwer once.
Oh my goodness.
I will leave it at that.
Just once?
Just once so far.
Very nice.
Yes.
That's definitely spicy.
For sure.
And I don't think I don't have any more news and gossip. Did you had something, right?
Yes, because I went on Kristen Hager's, Nora, and I saw that she was filming a movie right now in Canada. So I wrote down what it is. It's like a romance film. So I was thinking maybe that was why. Maybe that was the schedule interference. Maybe they took her out of that episode.
Oh, perhaps. Perhaps.
It's called The Right Kind of Wrong or something.
The Right Kind of Wrong.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Very neat. Very neat.
And then and I wanted to mention that Megan Rath on her Twitter, I looked it up. She has a unicorn as a background picture, and I'm obsessed with unicorns, specifically the last unicorn. In fact, I own a flower who I called the Lady Amalthea, because that's the last unicorn's human name.
That's the last unicorn's name. Oh, so the last unicorn turns into a human to hide?
Yes.
Oh.
And then they call her the Lady Amalthea.
Is this
She doesn't have a
is
name.
this a film or a fable?
Yeah, it's a cartoon. It's like from the 80s.
Oh.
It's fantastic. And Jeff Bridges is one of the voices, and Mia Farrow.
Oh.
And I think Christopher Lee as well.
Wow, Mia Farrow, man, that is back in the 80s. Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and move into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Yes. So I feel like next episode we're gonna see Liam capture Aiden and torture him.
Oh,
And I'm, you know what I'm wondering though?
I want to see him tortured.
I know, but
He's
you know,
already been captured and tortured once. I
That's
think
right.
get a break.
yeah,
now.
right in the beginning of the season, he was getting bled dry. He was getting milked dry
Yes.
by that one creepy apartment dude or whatever with his jumpsuit on.
Yeah, the dude that dug him up.
I'm wondering though why Liam wouldn't just kill him in the house. Like once Erin has him down on the ground, you know, I'm sure she's not going to kill him. But you know, I don't even get what's stopping her from killing him unless Liam said something like, "Hey, I don't want you to kill him because I want to get him and torture him."
Well, perhaps Liam isn't 100% sure that Aiden killed Connor, and he wants to unravel the mystery and find out who exactly it was. So maybe he has an inkling that it was Aiden, or at least that Aiden would know.
Yeah, maybe that's why he does want to capture him and then torture him and then kill him.
Yes. Yes.
But I feel like Erin, she's going to play a further role in his capture. If she doesn't, then Liam's probably just going to leave her to the house and just like, oh, okay, whatever, I used you up. No big deal. But then again, he's a wolf and he doesn't want to abandon his pack. So,
No. But the other thing, too, is that Josh is on his way home. Remember?
He is.
So even though he can't do any wolf things, you know, he has a telephone. He could call the police,
And he has a gun.
for example. He has a gun, yeah, with a silver bullet in it.
does.
Yeah, maybe he's gonna actually have to put a silver bullet through Liam's head.
Yeah, that may be how the next episode ends up. Did you have any other predictions?
Well, I mean, Aiden's obviously gonna survive it, you know, and some resolution has to, you know, be made with the bubble boy, for example.
Yeah, that's right, Kenny. I feel like Donna the witch. She's gonna definitely die by the season's end because she's proven to be very,
Right.
very evil.
Yes.
Actually.
Yes.
And lastly, I feel that Aiden will get fired from his job as a nurse due to excessive absences from work because of Liam capturing him.
That's very possible.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us on this this evening. Don't forget to rate and comment us on iTunes, on our YouTube channel. 5 stars, please. Yeah, and we'll give you guys a freaking shout out, man. Join the conversation.
Yeah, we'll bribe you. 5 stars for a shout out.
And you can find me once again at Sean Austin O on Twitter, and you can follow me on Instagram also at IT Sean O.
I am on Twitter at Katarina's Infamy, and my website is also katarinasinfamy.com.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next
Thanks
week.
for being here.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.